Hi, this video is going to show you how to put newborn or very young twins into a woven wrap on the back and a separate woven wrap on the front. Not everybody will feel confident wrapping little twins on their back, and that's totally fine, you don't have to do it. But for some people it feels much easier, and as soon as you get them back and front you can actually start doing things again. So I think it's worth having a video that shows you how. To do it you need 2 woven wraps. For the ruck on the back you need a size 4, which is about 3.6 metres. Just hold that up to give you some sense of that. And then you put a shorty, which is around 2.6 metres through the ruck straps. That's that one. I'm using Duracell wraps. The benefit of them is they're 100% cotton, so they're great if your baby pukes on them or poos in them. You can just stick them in the washing machine, then stick them in the tumble dryer, and away you go. With my babies, when I started putting on my back, they were about 8 weeks old and about £14 each. My little boy had much better head control than my little girl, so I tended to put him on the back. And I think probably if they'd been very floppy, if they'd both been like my daughter, I wouldn't have felt so confident putting one on the back. So just see what works for you and your twins. I don't think it probably works for every family or every set of twins, but it does for some. So you start with putting the back baby on. So you need your longer wrap. You find your middle marker. There's the label. And you put it down on a flat surface. I would tend to use a sofa or something, not like a tray on top of a very small table as I'm doing here, but I need you to be able to see it in the video. You get your first baby and you put them down here on the centre of the wrap. I tended to keep the wrap right up over their head there. That's not where it will stay when they're on your back, but what it means is it provides extra head support, and it means that you can, when it ends up sort of more like here. So if their heads aren't fully stable, which most babies won't be when they're sort of 6, 8, 10 weeks old, you've got more support for it. You then get the bottom of the wrap and pull it up between their legs. The hard thing about wrapping little babies on your back is it's hard to get a good seat. And by seat I mean the sort of little hammock that you're creating for them. So certainly the way I learned was by pulling this fabric up and tucking it into their trousers or shorts. If they're in a onesie you can't really do this, but it certainly makes life a lot easier. So you want the fabric spread wide enough here, you can't quite see it, but I'll lift the baby up, so that it's going from knee pit to knee pit, this fabric, and then I've tucked it in. Next you bundle your sides up like this, and you probably want your baby's hands up here by his or her mouth. This baby's very floppy because it's a toy, so let's hope they stay there. So you bundle this up and you put both bits of fabric on one side, and you're taking care to hold the seat. You put a finger between these 2 bits of fabric, so when you put them on your back you've got two separate passes. So the wrap should support your baby, but I always like to put a hand behind the head too, and then and you see there, that's a good, I wasn't holding into the middle the seat, and because I wasn't holding it properly it slipped out, so we'll just pop it back again. So I tend to hold the seat and use that finger I'm holding the seat with to also be the finger between these 2 passes. Again, hand behind the baby's head, reach round and pop them on your back like that. You can then adjust them slightly. Basically I always wanted my little baby to have its head sort of on my neck, and then you have to make sure, here are your 2 separate passes, and the one closer to you needs to come round over your head, on the baby's head, and go down that side. Now if this is, I'm bending forward to make sure my baby feels safe. And I would never, with a little baby, stand up and try and do a ruck like that. I tended to always bend forward, especially when I was learning. And I would tend to wiggle them down a bit lower and make sure that this has still got a good seat here. With little babies, it's much harder to get the good seat because it's just hard to reach your arms back that far. But you can see this is not too bad. So making sure your top rail is tight, and you can see here I've now pulled it so the fabric is not right up over baby's head, but sort of just above the neckline, so it's providing some support to their head. And you find your top rail, which is on this wrap, quite easy to see, it's the darker one, and just make sure that's tight enough. Now you don't want to tighten your bottom rail on this wrap, the lighter one. Bottom rail is the one that goes underneath the bottom, too much, because you don't want to pop that seat out. So I just tend to make sure they're nice and folded, and then I put one between my legs, my knees, to hold it, while I take this one round, and this one wants to go over the baby's first leg in its knee pit. Some people like to use it, make sure that it's pinning a bit of the fabric of the seat. You could do that or not do that. And then I take it round and under the next leg and pin between my legs, and then I do exactly the same with this one. So it goes over that first leg in the knee pit and under the second one. Now usually with a ruck you tie off under your boobs, and depending on how big your baby is, you might want to do that. When they're very little, I find that actually tying off over your boobs is probably easier. And I would often tie just to one side or the other, so the front baby isn't lying on such a big knot. You can do that or not do that. Sometimes babies don't mind, and they don't mind being there. So then that's what you want to see. You want to see, there's the baby, its wraps going over the leg in the knee pit and under the next one, and the same with the other side, over that leg and under. So then this baby, you can see, is very secure back here. They're up here on my neck. The real benefit of that is I can feel them breathing, so I'm not too worried about them. You can slide this down a bit if you feel they've got better head control, and they can hold themselves, but you can also pull it back up again, and then if they're asleep, as long as you feel their airways are clear, you can pull this up a bit higher to give yourself more or less support, or not you, but the baby. So that's your first wrap. The real benefit of putting newborn twins in 2 different wraps is that you can tie one before you worry about the second one. So then we're going to get our second baby and pop him or her up there. Right. Now, again, you want to find the middle marker of your second wrap. And all you want to do is bunch up each end and pass them through the ruck straps of your ruck. Depending on how tight you've done this, which I've done it very tight, then it's easier or harder. And it's usually a little bit harder doing it the side you've done the knot. It's fine not to tie up here. You can tie below your boobs as well, but what you'll see is that these passes then will be pulled down a bit, so they're just slightly less supportive for the back baby when you've got a very small back baby. So now what you want to do again, your top rail is always the rail which is around the baby's head, and your bottom rail is always around baby's bum. So what you want to do is you want to tighten your bottom rail up. So you find the bits that are going to tighten the bottom rail, making sure your middle marker stays in the middle. And you want that a little bit lower probably, but fairly tight, because basically all you're doing is needing to get the baby's legs through that. Now with your top rail, that one you want quite loose because the baby's going to slide down in there. Get your second baby, put them up over one shoulder, and holding them there, you reach through underneath, get one leg and a second leg. And then you slowly move baby down and fabric up. You tuck the fabric up underneath so you're getting a nice comfy seat for your baby. And as always, you want to have the baby with this, you want this fabric high over their head, but you don't want to leave it there. So you just make sure it goes that high and then let it drop down. So now I'm just going to tighten, once they're in there, you tighten both your top rail and your bottom rail, but your bottom rail probably shouldn't need too much tightening if you tightened it at the beginning. And it's more of a top rail. And what you want here is you want this nice smooth fabric across baby's back. This is going to be a bit bunched up, but I will show you what you'll do with that in a minute. Then once you've done that, you're going over both baby's knee pits, and usually you just tie off under their bum here. So following the ticks, you've got the fabric is tight, baby's close enough to kiss, airways are clear, nice rounded back, good position. Yeah, you're tying off underneath here. If your fabric's long enough and you want to tie it around behind you, that's fine. I always found that was easier. Now what we want here is to create a little, some sort of support for baby's neck. Normally I would use a tea towel, but I'm just using a pair of trousers. But you can use anything that rolls up and just creates a little neck support here for your front baby. So there we go, we have newborn twins or little twins here, making sure that they can breathe. Now obviously they're not in view on your back. Some people like to have a little mirror or something. I used to just check in windows or mirrors around the house. But usually because they're up here on your neck, you should be able to feel them breathing. And that's how you get newborn or little twins in 2 woven wraps.